So some of you saw a few weeks ago a picture I shared of a bunch of boxes of my new children's book, Plain Jane and the Capital B, being shipped from Shenzhen, China. Since then, I've gotten a ton of questions about that process, so I just wanted to walk you through it and let you know why I switched for this project from using a print-on-demand service to using an offset printer. So for some context, if you don't know what those terms mean, print-on-demand or POD is a service like Kindle Direct Publishing, run through Amazon. Ingram Spark is another well-known POD service. So what print on demand means is that your books are actually printed on demand. They're only printed when there's a request for your product. If someone orders a book from Amazon, KDP prints that one book and it's sent to the customer. If you order 20 books, say for an event, KDP will print 20 books and Amazon will ship them to you. That's like a pretty, summary definition of it. Now, this was initially a game changer for self-publishers because prior to POD services, you had to print books with an offset printer, which almost always has a large print minimum to make the printing cost effective. Now, with offset printing, a large quantity of books is printed in a single run. A lot of times you may have to print at least 500 to 1,000 books at a few dollars per copy, and having to make that upfront investment without knowing what the payoff would be made the barrier to entry to self-publishing pretty high. POD took away that upfront investment, and it also made it so you didn't end up with thousands of books that may or may not sell. So really, for a lot of self-publishers, that sounds like a win, which is why up to this point for me, all the books that I've printed, I've used print on demand. I've used KDP and I've used Ingram. But as I've continued to publish, there are some downsides to POD. One of the big ones for me was customization. So if you're using a POD service, you're stuck with the size and the binding options of that service. Now, as of this video, KDP hasn't rolled out any type of hardcover option, and they do have a limited range of book sizes. Ingram has hardcover options, but if you want to do something like a spiral, bound book, etc., there's not an option. And they also have a limited range of sizes. So for Plain Jane and the Capital B, I knew I wanted a hardcover, so that left KDP out. There was still Ingram, but then that leads to my next issue, which is profit margin. So to print a hardcover book through Ingram in color, it will cost me about $7 per book before shipping. On the other hand, with the printer in Shenzhen for the same book with a 500 book minimum, it would only cost me about $3 per copy and only about $4 per copy with shipping. So even though using an offset printer means I would have to pay for those 500 copies up front, I would be making a lot more on the back end, considering my print costs are half of what they would be with Ingram. And that's only the cost for me to print the books and have them shipped to me. There are a bunch of different costs associated with distributing the book, say, from Ingram through Amazon, meaning that I would have to list my book at a minimum of $22 on Amazon to make any money at all. And by money, I mean 50 cents per book. I break these numbers down more on the blog if you want to see what the real cost breakdown looks like. But pretty much making 50 cents off of $20 is not worth it for me in publishing. I think that the offset printing also offers more control over the customer relationship. So by directing everybody to Amazon, Amazon is building their list, but where does that leave you? There's also the issue of quality. Print on demand is printed each time, so the quality can sometimes be inconsistent. Lastly, I just didn't like the idea of being locked into the terms of service of print on demand services. There are all these different rules around how you have to do pre-sales. I just didn't feel like trying to find workarounds for those again. I really just wanted to do it my way. And that's really what motivated me, more from a philosophical standpoint than anything else. I got into self-publishing because I wanted to do this my way. I didn't want to be bound by a publishing house. And printing through the POD services has really started making me feel less like I'm doing it my way and more like I'm doing it their way, like I'm doing it Amazon's way. And yes, paying the upfront investments is taking a risk, but it also raises the stakes on me. My minimum is only 500 copies, so if after 8 books in, I can't sell 500 copies of a book, then I have to question why I'm doing this in the first place. As a business owner, sometimes you have to do that. It can't just be an expensive hobby. Again, I break this down a lot more on my blog in dollars and cents. Link is in my bio. But I just wanted to give you a little glimpse into this new journey. There's a lot more to it, so I plan to do a part 2 of this video just to outline some of the challenges and considerations. And I'll keep you updated on how this is going, because honestly, I don't know how well it will work. But I wanted to pull back the curtain on it because honestly, I found that it's really hard to get information on this process. So stay tuned for more. My books are scheduled to come in soon, so I'll take you along this journey with me, and I'll talk to you all later.